Secret Nazi base. Antarctica has no shortage of unsettling discoveries. Weird stuff is being found here all the time. And ever since the 1940s, people have been talking about secret Nazi bases lost on the continent of Antarctica. But the truth is a little stranger than that. Adolf Hitler definitely ordered an expedition to Antarctica, completely shrouded in secrecy about 80 years ago. This was back in 1936. And believe it or not, Hitler's idea of populating Antarctica had a lot to do with margarine. They were already preparing for war, and the Nazis knew that they would need a lot of whale oil in order to have sufficient margarine for the population. So the idea was that the Nazis would sail down to Antarctica, set up a base, and then harvest whale oil by hunting the giant beasts. The expedition set off in 1938, led by a decorated World War I naval commander. It took the crew about 4 months to reach the coastline of Antarctica, and they then began a survey of the land using flying boats. Keep in mind that this is before much of the region had ever been explored and it was all very new. However, nothing really worked out the way it was supposed to. According to History.com, one of the air crews threw out a giant box of small metal swastikas, which was a way for them to lay claim to the territory, and it's still believed that those swastikas are scattered across Antarctica to this day. But as for a base, they never actually built one. Despite all the rumors and claims of secret Nazi bases in Antarctica, history says it never happened. There has been no physical evidence that the Germans ever set up a permanent station in Antarctica before 1981. Nonetheless, that box full of metal swastikas is still buried in the snow somewhere, and one day it's going to make a very impressive archaeological discovery. UFO evidence. Is there proof of alien life hiding in Antarctica? This is a question that has been thrown around a lot lately, but a recent unsettling discovery may be the final piece of evidence we need. A video has been uploaded online that appears to show a disk roughly 60 feet wide jutting out from the snow and ice of Antarctica. The object appears to have been frozen in the ice for a significant amount of time, but is now beginning to reveal itself because of the thawing snow. Part of it is still underground, but the satellite image clearly shows something mysterious and shaped like a disk. Could it truly be a lost UFO? Unfortunately, this mysterious thing might just be a lake. These satellite images are so blurry that you can interpret the images in whichever way you choose. This could be an unsettling discovery of a UFO, or it could just be a lake located on Antarctica. It could also just be a rock. It's likely that the video online was slightly edited to make the circular object appear more like an object and less like a naturally occurring geological feature. But don't let this news bring you down. There is still a chance that somewhere underneath the shrinking ice caps of our southern hemisphere, a stranded UFO is waiting to be found. Unexpected fossils. There's nothing better than an unexpected discovery, especially in a place like Antarctica. A new discovery of a fossil is seriously freaking people out. It's been labeled as the real-life Loch Ness Monster, and according to Fox News, scientists are absolutely shocked. The fossilized remains found by scientists belong to a creature known as an elasmosaur, and it lived about 70 million years ago. This beast would have weighed up to 15 tons, and that makes it one of the largest plesiosaurs of its kind ever discovered anywhere on Earth. The reason it's being called the Loch Ness Monster is because fossil hunters claim that in life, this enormous beast would have looked exactly like how we envision the Loch Ness Monster. It would have had a very long neck, a kind of oblong body, and 4 long flippers. As you may already know, some theories claim that the Loch Ness Monster is in fact a type of dinosaur that has somehow continued to live inside a small Scottish lake. And with this newest fossil from Antarctica, people are now saying that Nessie could be an elasmosaur. These animals definitely lived across the planet, but it would still not make any sense for one to be alive in Loch Ness. This is because Loch Ness only became a body of water roughly 10,000 years ago, and these ancient marine dinos went extinct 65 million years ago. Remains of murder. Antarctica has a dark side. It's not just a frozen wasteland with a single ATM and a whole lot of cute penguins. In 1985, there was a horrifying and extremely unsettling discovery made in this remote place. A woman's skull was found on Yamana Beach in the south of Antarctica. The skull belonged to an indigenous woman from Chile in her early 20s, and researchers believe that she died between 1819 and 1825 at a camp made by sealers. Female sealers were unheard of for that time, so it's highly likely that the indigenous woman had a more nefarious purpose for being in Antarctica. There have been no documents explaining how she came to be there, so it really is just hearsay and speculation, but that doesn't make the skull any less unsettling. The ice is almost gone. Perhaps one of the most unsettling discoveries that has ever come out of Antarctica is something we all already know. This place is running out of ice. In just a few decades, the continent of Antarctica has lost trillions of tons of ice. While people can argue against climate change all they want, there's no debating the facts. There is also no debating the newest discovery of a void growing beneath West Antarctica that scientists claim is nearly the size of Manhattan. This void has been found underneath a glacier that holds roughly 250 billion tons of ice. According to a professional JPL radar scientist researching this mysterious void, it's a sure sign that the glacier is bound for melting, and sooner rather than later. Because the void beneath the glacier is so large, it allows in more heat and more water, which causes it to melt quicker. If the glacier melts rapidly, the oceans of the world will lift by about 2 feet, but that's not even the worst part. This particular glacier, which by the way is known as Thwaites Glacier, holds up its neighboring glaciers, and once it melts, the others will quickly follow. We will then see a devastating domino effect. If you're not unsettled now by this newest discovery, just wait until your house is underwater. Ancient rainforest. While the fact that scientists have discovered traces of an ancient rainforest in Antarctica is not in itself unsettling, the implications kind of are. It is a bit freaky to think that this frozen wasteland once held a magnitude of life and maybe even humans. About 90 million years ago, Antarctica would have been very hot. An expedition in 2017 revealed that the sediment composition 90 feet beneath the surface of the ocean is extremely different to the sediment composition of the surface. Further investigation showed an intricate network of plant roots completely fossilized under the waters of Antarctica. Microscopic analyses then found evidence of spores and pollen. All of this points to the fact that a huge rainforest did indeed exist in Antarctica eons before the area was transformed into a zone of ice and snow. Not only did a huge rainforest exist, but it was likely a temperate and swampy forest like what you would find in New Zealand today. But none of this changes the fact that even millions of years ago, there still would have been an Antarctic winter in which the continent was shrouded in darkness for 4 months out of the year. Scientists then had to look at the CO2 levels that would have existed back then. What they discovered was that the Earth was so hot in those days that the average air temperature even during an Antarctic winter would have hovered at around 54 degrees. And this is where things get disturbing. Climate scientists say that as the Earth continues heating, these temperatures could come around again, and the Antarctica we know of now could once more turn into a rainforest. Secret ruins. Let's continue looking into Antarctica's mysterious past. For a long time, there have been rumors that a hidden city is frozen beneath the ice of Antarctica. And while the recent evidence of a rainforest existing on the continent definitely helps out this theory, there's actually a bit more to it than that. The theory is known as crustal displacement, and it alleges that the Earth's crust moved in such a way about 12,000 years ago that caused Antarctica to move dramatically south. The theory says that Antarctica would have been much more in the north, closer to Europe, and it would have held a secret civilization. But with the crustal displacement, Antarctica got pushed to the southern tip of the Earth, and the civilization was frozen over with ice, and we have yet to uncover it again. This is still only a theory, but some recent images from Google Earth appear to have revealed a pyramid sticking out of the snow in the tundra. And while scientists were quick to claim that it was not a pyramid at all, but just a mountain that looked like a pyramid, nobody actually knows 100%. The pyramid very well could have just been part of an ancient civilization whose structures we will only begin to find as the ice continues to thaw. The Piri-Reis Map and Lost Atlantis. One of the more unsettling clues to the ancient history of Antarctica wasn't actually discovered on the continent, but get ready to have your mind blown nonetheless. The Piri-Reis map was drawn in 1513 and is the earliest surviving map of the Americas. The map shows North America, South America, Greenland, and Antarctica, none of which had yet been discovered. The mystery surrounding this map is monumental. The fellow who drew it, named Piri-Reis, had been a high-ranking official in the Turkish Navy, and this had given him special access to the Imperial Library in Constantinople. It's said that in the early 1500s, he met a man who had a mysterious map of the New World, and that Piri-Reis based his 1513 map on the one this mysterious man showed him. He also based it on some antique charts that had allegedly survived the burning of the Great Library of Alexandria. After it was drawn, it ended up being lost within the Imperial Palace of Constantinople until 1929, when scholars stumbled upon it completely by accident. And here's where Antarctica and Atlantis come into play. The map was drawn in 1513, and yet Antarctica was not discovered until 1820. The map also shows Antarctica as not being covered in ice, but that would have been thousands of years before. Furthermore, it shows Antarctica being connected to South America, which it has not been for millions of years. Because of these oddities, there have been many theories put forward throughout the years. Some claim the map was based on aerial photographs taken from an alien ship. Others say that the map showed Antarctica as being a fully occupied civilization that could have been Atlantis. It's a lot of speculation with no discernible proof, but the fact that somebody drew a continent with shocking accuracy several hundred years before anyone had ever seen it with their eyes is nothing short of unsettling. Organism 46b. This next one is completely out to lunch, but it's been reported by so many legitimate news sources like Express News that there may be a grain of truth to it. Allegedly, during an expedition to a subterranean lake in Antarctica, Russian scientists discovered a horrifying creature that is being called Organism 46b. This discovery happened at Lake Vostok, and it's apparently being covered up now by Russian officials who are trying to weaponize the mysterious creature. From what has been told in the news reports, the scientists found a killer squid with 14 legs and the ability to hypnotize and paralyze a human being at a shocking distance of 150 feet by squirting them with poisonous venom. In these reports, it has also been claimed that Vladimir Putin is trying to use the creature to create a secret weapon. How much of this is true is anybody's guess. There could very well be a giant super squid living underneath the Antarctic ice in Lake Vostok, and yes, it's also possible that it killed 2 scientists just like the reports claimed. However, this would be an absolute anomaly in the animal world. Not only do squids not hunt scientists for sport, but they probably would not survive very well in an underwater lake without enough food to eat. Still, it's an unsettling story, and if true, absolutely terrifying. The Antarctic Cubes. The Antarctic cubes are absolutely bizarre. The image of the cubes was first taken in Antarctica in 1995, and yes, it's 100% legitimate. The photographs even won the top prize in the Royal Society's annual scientific photography competition in 2017. These cubes are unsettling at first, but there is a perfectly logical explanation. It's called bidirectional crevassing. What happens is that as the ice sheets spread and thin, cracks form parallel to whichever way the ice is moving forward. This is because even though the sheets of ice in Antarctica look solid, they are always moving, even if it is very slowly. After cracks spread parallel, the ice will continue to stretch and then more cracks appear perpendicular. In the end, it creates the effect of a grid of ice blocks. The troghs between the blocks actually contain flowing ice and snow, much like rivers. It's one of the strangest and yet captivating geological phenomena that goes on in Antarctica, and it's great because it has nothing to do with aliens or secret societies. Which of these discoveries unsettled you the most? Let me know your thoughts, and thanks for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and come back soon for another fantastic video. Do you think we will be able to turn things around and keep Antarctica from melting?